Hey guys, back again. Now I want to take a look at a video that I'm sure you're all familiar with, and it is Vice's The Nightmare World of Gang Stalking. This video now has 3.1 million views, and I want to see what it's done for our community. Let's have a look. Firstly, let's have a look at who Vice are. They're owned by Shane Smith, the Walt Disney Company, A&E Networks, TPG Capital, Soros Fund Management, and James Murdoch. So like most media, they're controlled. Okay, we start with dramatic music and what appears to be a drone taking photos of a man that claims to be targeted. That man's name is Richard Bruce, and he has a YouTube channel.
This has many names: gang stalking, mob stalking, community stalking. You're in the middle of this ridiculous, irrational impossibility that is real and is happening.
We then have a quick montage of clips. We have Snowden, the poster boy for whistleblowing. We have admissions of surveillance from government. Then we have this clown mocking victims. Then we have the clown prince.
Many of the things that victims of gang stalking describe are also symptoms of mental disorders.
They jump to mental illness before giving a description. They then go to a cookie-cutter definition of gang stalking. It's defined as a form of organised harassment and surveillance. I would add it's a slow-kill torture program with the aims to annihilate the mind, body, soul, reputation, wealth, and support of a target, always resulting in death. They then say an estimated 10,000 people worldwide identify as victims, but that's subjective, as many people believe what constitutes being a victim has changed. You then have mental health experts adding their 2 cents to try and stay in business, but the world is currently waking up to these charlatans.
I grew up with my parents. My mother was a medical doctor. My father was a former rocket scientist turned teacher. I grew up with a desire to be a graphic artist. And then I didn't like school very much, so I joined the Navy, and I did that for a couple of years. Didn't like that too much, so I came back to LA and basically lived in Los Angeles as a homeless man, just living on the street. I had my truck with a shell, and I worked as a handyman or construction jobs that I would get.
I'm unsure whether they're trying to paint a picture of Richard here, with high-achieving parents yet a life of instability, or whether it even matters.
The gang stalking experience started for me when I noticed these black SUVs and other police vehicles driving slowly along the street, but they never came up to me or said anything. And then I had 7 or 8 helicopters hovering directly over my apartment, and then it goes lie, and it keeps happening, and it begins to dawn on me that something is going on, and this continued on.
I think all targets can vouch for the misuse of government vehicles to instill fear in a target.
Here comes the gang stalking helicopter. Here he comes. It's confusing to humans trying to understand gang stalking. Why would they do this to me? Why would they do these weird, petty little things that, may even just irritate me at some moment? If you were to ask me what gang stalking is, it's a way to slowly kill people using their own decisions.
I think decisions is a poor choice of word. I would say one of the aims of the program is to force the target to take their life through psychological manipulation.
See, we're getting one of our friends here. I don't know if you can hear that on the audio, but we're getting a buzz right now. And on certain topics that I'll bring up, I'll get buzzed.
I think the buzz is that of a police scanner.
My understanding of gang stalking is that a number of people have found each other on the internet who believe that they are being targeted for harm.
Not believe. We are experiencing physical and mental trauma and could prove this if we had credible, humane doctors.
So there's this concept of hypervigilance, right? Which is that your threat assessment centers get locked into a position that is too high. They're warning you all the time about things not necessarily untrue, but that you would feel better not worrying about. Being of the opinion that you had to constantly look around and figure out what might be threatening to you. or else your life would be at stake, would lead to you not just seeing connections that weren't there, but erring on the side of safety when you see a connection that might or might not be there.
This I actually agree with, and I believe it's a normal response to the trauma that we've been through.
I'm a self-taught makeup artist, and depending on the list that you look at, probably one of the top 10 makeup artists in the world. I think that just my life experience, me being around famous people all the time, what paparazzi photographers do to them, what normal people do to them if they go out in public, there'll be a gang-like reaction. This is essentially the same thing, except it's not, I didn't ask for it.
That's certainly a feeling that I've had. We are unwillingly the centre of these people's attention. Billy then identifies as a victim of cause stalking, a form of organised stalking based on the victim's lifestyle, political orientation or beliefs. Nobody should be treated as inhumanely as people are in this program. If Billy or any other target was guilty of a punishable offence, it would have been followed up through the right avenues.
In my experience, it started over a year ago. I had rented a space in Hawthorne, California, and people warned me that as a gay man, you know, it was maybe brave of me to rent this space. I never think about things like that. I didn't know what it was called. Like I said, I just thought that it was bullying. I just thought that it was, you know, people that were just like, get the faggot out of the neighborhood or whatever. When 20 or 30 cars are hazing you on the freeway, behind you, in front of you, on both sides of you, completely controlling how fast you go, whether you exit, whatever you do, this is something bigger than that. I started spray painting their cars on the freeway. I pepper sprayed them. At this time, it was trying to get them to call the police. That's what I was trying to do. I had no other way, I felt like, other than to find out, are these people together? Are they working in this one collective group for the same reason?
I totally understand this. The harassment was so severe that I was trying to get arrested to find out what the hell was going on.
What they'll do to a particular person in order to stress them out is they'll hit them with the same thing over and over and over again. I would get Los Angeles Police Department vehicles lighting up their sirens and not pulling me over, but zooming around me, almost like a continual tactic. This happened so much that I was inspired to buy a dash camera.
Yeah, definitely a tactic used. Police, ambulance and fire will pull up next to me just to put their siren on.
I believe it was the very next day, and it was the first time I experienced what I know now is called street theater. And I watched the parking lot literally fill up with cars. And, you know, heterosexual couples would hold hands and like stroll through the back of the parking lot like they were on some 1950s sitcom. People that are trying to look incredibly normal look incredibly abnormal because they're acting. It's not authentic. That was when I first started thinking, it's all of them against me. This is clearly a collective, organized, whatever is happening.
Yeah, street theatre. It's like a very strange movie scene custom made for the target. Often very personal and degrading. The main aim is to provoke a response from the target.
If a conspiracy is a bunch of people working together to do something that they don't want publicized, then it would be absolutely wrong to say that the world is not filled with conspiracies. The question is, what does it do for you to spend a lot of time thinking and feeling about the conspiracies that you believe exist?
But we are experiencing this. How can you shut down thought and emotion to never-ending torture?
Government has to know about it. How can this can't be like some rogue group operating, you know, some shadowed thing and nobody knows about it.
Absolutely. For this program to run, it requires participation from all levels of government.
I go to the Van Nuys Police Department, I walk in, I say, this is my ID, this is my name. Are you following me or do you have any knowledge of me being followed? Is there a reason for you to be followed, sir? No, there's not, but people are. Who's following you? Well, I don't know who it is. Well, what are they driving? They're driving cars with dealer tags that you can't trace. Well, sir, there are a lot of dealers here. There are a lot of dealer tags. How do you know that they're following you?
I've been in this position more than I'd like. The condescension and the gaslighting let you know the police are involved.
Very quickly, you see how crazy you sound.
I still to this day listen to myself explaining this program and think, how would anyone believe this?
I've never been arrested. I've never had a DUI. Anything whatsoever. Whoever is in charge, which is so weird, is spinning this web about what a deviant, immoral, less than a human being you are. That's the only thing that I can think of that would get that many people in this collective effort to get rid of you.
I think the smear campaigns may help recruit people with some type of moral compass, but sadly most people have the narcissistic traits and are too ready to participate.
This happens to you enough, believe me, you will feel stress. You will get that feeling of helplessness. This is not just like a gang of random people just doing this for, like randomly or without a plan. This is procedural.
Absolutely, these are refined military techniques and technologies used on an unwitting public.
The psychiatric definitions of delusion tend to focus on really two principles. One is that the ideas that you have are not very vulnerable to evidence. The other is that people in your culture don't share your beliefs.
People in our culture are deeply asleep, but we're seeing them wake up.
The question becomes, if you can find 10,000 people on the internet who believe the same thing as you, is it a delusion? Is it bizarre? Quite possibly not. If everybody believes this stuff, how is it in any way insane?
You have people worldwide claiming they're being tortured. The core method's exactly the same for everyone. This is a very lucrative, very well-run international syndicate at work.
People just would not believe the suffering that people in this community endure every single day.
I've lost just about all my friends. They're afraid to talk to me. They think it's very effective. They think I'm crazy.
My family doesn't know anything about it. I don't say a word to them. I don't know if my son knows, and I don't want anything to happen to him.
This is the devastating toll of the program. Family, friendship, support destroyed. We then look for support where we can find it, hoping we won't be hurt further.
Really the most important thing that we can do for victims is to connect them with others who understand what they're experiencing, because no one else will.
Yeah, that's true. No one could truly understand what this is like unless they lived it.
And isolation is really a key weapon that these perpetrators use to bring a person down to the ground, basically.
Also true, they want the target completely isolated and in fear of the world.
If you go to see a psychiatrist, let's say it's the first time you're meeting a psychiatrist, and you say, I'm under police surveillance, then the psychiatrist will write you off as suffering paranoid schizophrenia, and then he will give you medication. So we must assume that this is what American society believes, that all these government agencies, which normally watch over people, don't actually watch people at all. If anybody thinks that they are being watched by this government agency, then they must be crazy. It cannot possibly be true.
This man makes a great point. It is apparently crazy to believe that these spy agencies spy on people.
There really is no help at the moment officially to assist target individuals. They can't go to the police, they can't go to the FBI, they can't go to Congress. There is nowhere that they can go. We are having to create the issue and also the solution.
Why isn't our nation listening? This could be them. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the nation is under mass mind control.
Given that the world is filled with groups of people operating in secret or trying to divorce us from our money or our power or whatever they want from us, one thing that might be helpful to ask from a psychiatric point of view is, what's wrong with the rest of us? So why am I so relaxed? What's wrong with me that I don't feel I'm being gang stalked? And is it that I'm living in the matrix where in order to feel more comfortable, I have decided to simply ignore a lot of the evils in the world and a lot of the potential threats to me?
This is a fantastic line of thinking, but once again he's downplaying what we go through, implying that it could just be simply ignored.
Okay, so what we're seeing here is this scene where the Keanu Reeves character climbs out of the battery vat chamber. You can't see, precisely what it is because of that loss of focus, but you can definitely see that something is abnormal. As you're looking into it, I drew a picture of what the shapes of those claws are. It looks like a bird talon or a reptile talon. I started searching on conspiracy type movies, UFO movies, weird movies on YouTube. I came across the reptilian shapeshifter subject. What I can confirm is that there are apparently non-humans, apparently some of them are extraterrestrial, and apparently they have some kind of evil grip on our world.
Then we finally see why Richard was handpicked for this documentary. He touches on reptilian shapeshifters and UFOs.
Richard Bruce here, and if you haven't seen my channel before, this is gang stalking for reptilian shapeshifter movie uploads to YouTube.
Richard then goes on to talk more on the subject.
Nobody wants to be called crazy. It's one of the worst things you can imagine. I don't think I or any psychiatrist would recommend that people are convinced that what they believe is not true. The more useful target would be, what pain are they feeling in their life?
The pain of the torture program that we're talking about?
At least if I can do anything, if I can achieve anything by exposing this issue to the general public, it could be that it takes away these criminals' right to destroy people's lives with this, because it's terrible what's happening to people. I mean, what kind of a country do we live in where you can't say certain things or do certain things without our own government using these subversive, underhanded tactics to drive you crazy?
You're in the middle of this ridiculous, irrational impossibility that is real and is happening and is stranger than fiction or anything that you can imagine. And it's just terrifying. Fuck, I don't want to start crying. It pisses you off. It frustrates you beyond anything that you can imagine. And it changes you.
We could see it from everything: the fluoride in the water, the chemtrails, the fake education system, the fake medical system. I mean, when are we going to wake up and stand up and fight? As the scripture says, how good is it for brethren to be together? Meaning, how good is it for people who truly trust each other and are friends to be together?
Okay, verdict. This albeit short documentary barely scratched the surface on gang stalking, choosing to heavily rely on the surveillance aspect and little else. We're not told of many of the core elements of this program: the technology, mind control, trauma, microwave attacks, sonic attacks, home break-ins, property damage, drugging, poisoning, noise campaigns, sleep deprivation, hacking, account theft, just to name a few. Now, I'm sure Vice have left some things out of the final edit, so I can only judge on what's been said here. I came into this video wanting to hate on the doctor, but he has made some valid points. Although bound by an oath, he seems to think outside the square more than most. I don't think he's done us any harm here. I thought Billy was articulate on what he spoke, and you could certainly feel that he's going through it, so good job, Billy. Now, he's a gay man that believes he's targeted for being in the wrong town, and I'd like to add that no one should be in a program like this. There should be no reason whatsoever that people are targeted. Now to Richard and the reptilian shapeshifter in the room. Now, I don't believe in reptilian shapeshifters or UFOs. Many people do, but that's not the point. You have an opportunity to reach a wide audience. This is an introduction to gang stalking for many. These are people that are having trouble getting their heads around that government's even surveilling them, and you go straight to fucking reptilian shapeshifter. I believe Richard used Vice to promote his channel, and Vice used Richard to discredit targeted individuals. And because of that one element, I believe many will continue to believe that we're weird conspiracy theorists. Alright guys, that is my view on the nightmare world of gang stalking. Until next time guys, see you later, bye.